What happens when Hollywood royalty meets actual royalty on late night television and it all goes horribly wrong? In just 38 seconds, one comment would turn a friendly interview into the most explosive talk show meltdown in television history. Jimmy Kimmel had seen it all. 15 years behind the desk. Thousands of guests. Every kind of personality you could imagine. Actors, musicians, politicians, athletes. He knew how to handle anyone. He had a gift for making people comfortable, for drawing out the best stories, for turning even the most awkward moments into comedy gold. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared him for what was about to unfold on this particular evening. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement. This was a big booking. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, was stopping by to talk about her latest project. The producers had been thrilled when her team reached out. It was supposed to be light, fun, easy. A few laughs, some charming anecdotes, maybe a cute story about the kids. Standard stuff for a late-night show. Jimmy walked out to his usual thunderous applause, flashing that signature smile, waving to the crowd. He did his monologue, hit all his marks, got the laughs he expected. Everything was running smoothly. Then came time to bring out his guest. "Please welcome Meghan Markle," Jimmy announced, and the audience erupted. She walked out in an elegant cream-colored dress, waving to the crowd, that practiced royal waves she had perfected over the years. She sat down across from Jimmy, crossed her legs, smoothed her dress, the picture of poise and grace. "Welcome, welcome," Jimmy said warmly. "Thank you so much for being here." "Thank you for having me," she replied, her voice sweet, controlled. The first few minutes went fine. They talked about California, about the weather, about how she was adjusting to life back in the States. Jimmy kept things light, asking softball questions, giving her room to shine. The audience was eating it up. Everything seemed perfect. "So, I have to ask," Jimmy said, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. "What's it like going from being an actress to being, royalty? That must have been quite the transition." Something shifted in her expression. Just slightly, it tightening around the eyes. "Well, Jimmy, I think that's a bit of a simplistic way to look at it." Jimmy blinked, caught off guard by her tone. "Oh, I just meant, it's such a different world." "Is it, though?" she interrupted, her voice taking on an edge. "I mean, acting is performing. Royal duties are performing. It's all performance, really. I was just doing it for a different audience." The studio got quiet. You could feel the energy change. Jimmy tried to recover with a light laugh. Sure, I get that. Though I imagine the paparazzi situation was probably a bit more intense." "The paparazzi?" she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You know what, Jimmy? I find it interesting that you want to talk about the paparazzi. Your show, this show right here, you profit off celebrity culture. You make jokes about people's lives, their struggles, their pain. And then you want to act sympathetic about invasions of privacy?" Jimmy's smile faltered. The audience was dead silent now. This wasn't going the way anyone expected. I think there's a difference between comedy and harassment." "Is there?" she shot back. "Because from where I'm sitting, it all feels like the same machine. You're all complicit. You feed the beast and then act surprised when it bites." Jimmy tried to steer things back. "Look, I think we might be getting a bit off track here. I really just wanted to hear about your new project." "Of course you did," she said, and there was something cold in her voice now. "You wanted the easy interview. The puff piece. Just smile and wave and talk about my charity work and make you look good for booking the Duchess. Is that it?" "That's not fair," Jimmy said, and for the first time, there was an edge to his voice too. "I'm trying to have a conversation here." "A conversation?" She laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. "Jimmy, you don't want a conversation. You want content. You want a clip that will go viral. You want me to be charming and relatable, so your ratings go up. Let's not pretend this is anything more than what it is. The audience was shifting uncomfortably in their seats. This was getting ugly. Jimmy took a breath, trying to maintain his composure. I think you're being unfair. I've always been respectful to my guests. Respectful, she repeated, shaking her head. Do you know what respect actually looks like, Jimmy? It's not asking invasive questions about someone's family. It's not treating someone's trauma like a punchline. It's not reducing someone's entire life to a 10-minute segment between commercial breaks. I haven't done any of those things, Jimmy said firmly. I asked you about your career transition. That's a normal question. Normal, she scoffed. Nothing about my life has been normal since I met Harry. And people like you act like you care, but you don't. You just want the story. You want the drama. Jimmy's jaw tightened. He was trying so hard to keep this professional, but she was making it impossible. Meghan, I think maybe we should take a breath here. Don't tell me to take a breath, she snapped. That's so patronizing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. A woman expresses herself, and suddenly she needs to calm down. That's not what I said. It's what you implied. The tension was suffocating. The producers in the booth were panicking, trying to figure out how to salvage this. Cut to commercial? Let it play out? This was unprecedented. Jimmy made one more attempt at diplomacy. Look, I'm sorry if I've offended you in some way. That was never my intention. I really did just want to have a nice conversation. Your intentions don't matter, Jimmy. Impact matters. And the impact of shows like this, of this entire culture, is that it dehumanizes people. It turns us into products, into entertainment. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of pretending it's okay. Then why did you agree to come on the show? Jimmy asked. And it was a fair question. The frustration was clear in his voice now. She paused, and for a moment, it seemed like she might not answer. Then she leaned forward, her eyes locked on his. Because I wanted to say this. I wanted to tell you, to tell everyone watching, that I'm done playing the game. I'm done smiling and nodding and pretending that this is all fine. It's not fine. Okay, Jimmy said slowly. I hear you. But I'm not your enemy here. I'm just a talk show host trying to do my job. Your job, she said bitterly. Your job is to make people laugh at other people's expense. Your job is to perpetuate a system that chews people up and spits them out. Don't act like you're innocent in all of this. The audience was completely silent. Some people looked shocked. Others looked uncomfortable. A few looked angry. This had gone so far beyond a normal interview that nobody knew how to react. Jimmy straightened in his chair. His voice was calm but firm. I think you're projecting a lot onto me right now. I understand you've been through a lot. I really do. But I don't think it's fair to come on my show and attack me personally for things I haven't done. Haven't done? She repeated. You make jokes about the royal family all the time. I've seen the clips. You think that doesn't affect real people? You think we don't see that? It's comedy, Jimmy said. It's satire. We make jokes about everyone. Politicians, celebrities, public figures. That's what we do. And it's not personal. It feels personal when it's your family, she fired back. I understand that, Jimmy said, and he genuinely meant it. But you're a public figure. That comes with scrutiny. That comes with jokes. I'm not trying to hurt you. But you are hurting me, she said, and her voice cracked slightly. Maybe not intentionally, but you are. And you don't even care. I do care, Jimmy insisted. But I also have a show to do. I have a job. And right now, you're making it very difficult to do that job. She stood up abruptly, and the sudden movement made everyone jump. Then maybe I should make it easier for you? Meghan, Jimmy said, standing as well. You don't have to leave. Yes, I do, she said, because staying here, sitting in this chair, pretending like everything is fine, that would be a lie. And I'm done lying. Nobody's asking you to lie, Jimmy said. I'm asking you to have a conversation. This is a conversation, she shot back. This is me being honest for once. This is me saying what I actually think instead of giving you the answers you want to hear. Jimmy ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. Okay, but you're attacking me. You're attacking my show. You're attacking my audience. That's not a conversation. That's a fight. Maybe that's what we need, she said. Maybe we need to stop being so polite all the time and actually say what we mean. Fine, Jimmy said, his patience finally wearing thin. You want honesty? Here's honesty. You came on this show knowing exactly what it was. You've done talk shows before. You know how this works. And now, you're acting like I ambushed you with some kind of gotcha journalism when all I did was ask you a basic question about your life. That's not fair to me, and it's not fair to everyone who works on this show. She stared at him, her jaw set. You're right. I did know what this show was. That's why I came. To expose it. The audience gasped. This was calculated. This whole thing had been planned. Jimmy's eyes widened. You came here to ambush me? I came here to make a point, she said coldly. And I think I've made it. The point being what exactly? Jimmy asked. That talk shows are bad? That entertainment is exploitative? We all know that already. You're not revealing some great truth here. You're just being rude. Rude, she repeated, shaking her head. There it is. A woman stands up for herself, and she's rude. A woman speaks her mind, and she's difficult. A woman refuses to play along, and she's the problem. That's not what I'm saying, Jimmy protested. Gender has nothing to do with this. You're being rude because you're attacking someone who invited you into their space and treated you with nothing but respect. Respect, she scoffed again. You keep using that word. I don't think you know what it means. Jimmy took a deep breath. He was done trying to reason with her. You know what? You're right. Maybe we should end this. Because clearly, this isn't working. Finally, she said. Something we agree on. She turned to walk off the stage, but then she stopped and looked back at him. You know what your problem is, Jimmy. You think you're one of the good ones. You think because you're nice, and you smile, and you make people laugh, that somehow you're not part of the problem. But you are. You're the face of it. Jimmy's face hardened. And you know what your problem is? You think being a victim gives you the right to treat everyone else like they're your oppressor. I'm sorry for whatever you've been through. I really am. But I'm not the villain in your story, and I'm not going to let you make me into one. She smiled, but it was a cold smile. Too late. And with that, she walked off the stage. No goodbye. No wave to the audience. Just gone. Jimmy stood there for a moment, stunned. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or sit in silence. A few awkward claps started, then died out. This was the most uncomfortable moment in late-night television history, and everyone knew it. Jimmy slowly sat back down at his desk. He looked directly into the camera, his expression serious. Well, that happened. I don't really know what to say. That was not how I expected this evening to go. The audience laughed nervously, grateful for any break in the tension. I want to be clear, Jimmy continued. I have nothing but respect for Meghan and everything she's been through. But I also think, when you agree to come on a talk show, there's a certain understanding. A certain level of, mutual respect that should exist. And I feel like that was broken tonight. He paused, collecting his thoughts. I've been doing this job for a long time. I've interviewed thousands of people. And I've never had someone come on my show with the intention of attacking me. That's a first. The audience was quiet, listening. But you know what? Jimmy said, and there was strength in his voice now. I'm not going to apologize for doing my job. I'm not going to apologize for asking questions. and I'm not going to let anyone make me feel bad for trying to have a conversation. That's not what this show is about. That's not what I'm about." The audience erupted in applause. They were on his side. They had seen what happened. They knew he had done nothing wrong. "We're going to take a quick break," Jimmy said, "and when we come back, we're going to try to lighten the mood a little bit. Because honestly, we could all use a laugh right now." The show cut to commercial, and Jimmy sat back in his chair, exhaling deeply. His producers rushed out to check on him. "Are you okay? Do you want to end the show early? We can cancel the rest of the guests." But Jimmy shook his head. No. The show must go on. He wasn't going to let this derail everything. He wasn't going to give her that power. When they came back from commercial, Jimmy was composed, professional. He made a few jokes, introduced his next guest, carried on like nothing had happened. Because that's what you do. You keep going. But everyone watching knew they had just witnessed something extraordinary. Something that would be talked about for years. The night Meghan Markle walked off Jimmy Kimmel's show after a heated argument that spiraled completely out of control. It started with a simple question, a harmless inquiry about her transition from actress to duchess, and it ended with accusations, anger, and a dramatic exit that nobody saw coming. Jimmy had tried to be gracious. He had tried to steer the conversation back to safe ground. He had tried to de-escalate at every turn. But she wasn't interested in peace. She was interested in making a statement, in proving a point, in using his platform to air her grievances about an industry she felt had wronged her. And maybe she had valid concerns. Maybe there was truth in what she was saying about celebrity culture, about exploitation, about the machine that chews people up. But the way she went about it, the way she attacked someone who had shown her nothing but hospitality, that crossed a line. The audience that night left the studio, buzzing with conversation. "What just happened? Did you see that? I can't believe she said those things." Some people felt bad for Meghan, thinking she must be struggling with something deeper. Others were angry on Jimmy's behalf, insulted that she would treat him that way in his own house. But everyone agreed on one thing. They had never seen anything like it. Jimmy finished the show that night with his usual sign-off, thanking his guests, thanking his audience, reminding everyone to be kind to each other. There was an extra weight to those words after what had transpired. Be kind to each other. Because clearly, kindness was in short supply. The confrontation had been building from the very first exchange. Looking back, you could see the signs. The sharp tone when he asked about her transition. The defensive posture. The way she turned every question into an attack. She had come loaded for bear, ready for a fight, and Jimmy had walked right into it without knowing. He had asked about paparazzi, thinking it was a relatable topic, something the audience would find interesting. Instead, it became an indictment of his entire profession. He was complicit. He was part of the problem. He was feeding the beast. When he tried to clarify, to explain that there was a difference between comedy and harassment, she doubled down. She pushed harder. She made it personal. And Jimmy, to his credit, tried to keep his cool. He tried to be understanding. He acknowledged that she had been through difficult experiences. He didn't dismiss her feelings, but he also didn't let her steamroll him. He stood his ground. The moment when she accused him of just wanting content, of wanting a viral clip, that was when things really started to deteriorate, because she was essentially saying that his kindness was fake, that his interest in her was manufactured, that everything about the interview was manipulative. How do you respond to that? How do you defend yourself against someone who has already decided you're the enemy? Jimmy tried. He pointed out that he had been respectful, that he had asked normal questions, that he was just trying to do his job. But every defense he offered was twisted into another attack. He was being patronizing. He was being dismissive. He was part of the system. The accusation that he was telling her to calm down when he suggested they take a breath, that was particularly loaded. She immediately made it about gender, about how women are silenced when they express themselves. But that wasn't what was happening. Jimmy wasn't trying to silence her. He was trying to salvage an interview that was spiraling into chaos. When he finally asked why she agreed to come on the show if she felt this way, it was the most reasonable question in the world. And her answer, that she came specifically to expose the show, to make a point, that revealed the whole thing for what it was. A setup. A trap. Jimmy had been nothing but professional. Nothing but kind. And he had been used. His platform had been hijacked by someone with an agenda. And when he called her out on it, when he finally pushed back and told her she was being rude, she played the victim card again. A woman speaks her mind, and she's difficult. But it wasn't about her being a woman. It was about her being disrespectful. It was about her attacking someone in their own home, on their own show, for no reason other than to prove a point. Jimmy's final words to her, telling her that being a victim doesn't give her the right to treat everyone else like an oppressor, that was the truth she didn't want to hear. She had wrapped herself in victimhood so tightly that she couldn't see how she was victimizing someone else. And her parting shot, telling him he was the face of the problem, that he thought he was one of the good ones, but he wasn't, that was designed to wound, to leave him questioning himself, to make him doubt everything. But Jimmy didn't take the bait. He fired back with equal force. He told her she was making him into a villain when he had done nothing wrong. He refused to accept her narrative. When she walked off that stage, she thought she had won. She thought she had exposed something. But all she had really done was expose herself. Her entitlement. Her self-righteousness. Her willingness to burn bridges and hurt people in service of her own agenda. The audience saw it. The viewers at home saw it. And Jimmy saw it too. He could have ended the show right there. He could have let the drama consume everything. But he didn't. He took a breath, addressed what happened honestly, and moved on. He showed grace under pressure. He showed professionalism. He showed exactly the kind of character that makes someone worthy of sitting behind that desk for 15 years. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. On one side, a host trying desperately to maintain civility and respect. On the other, a guest determined to create conflict and chaos. One person trying to build something, the other trying to tear it down. It was never supposed to go this way. It was supposed to be light and fun. A few laughs, some good stories, maybe a heartwarming moment or two. Instead, it became a battlefield. A public confrontation that neither party wanted, but only one person tried to prevent. Jimmy asked simple questions. She gave complex accusations. He offered understanding. She offered contempt. He tried to find common ground. She dug trenches. And in the end, she walked away, thinking she had made her point. But the point she actually made was very different from the one she intended. She wanted to show that talk shows are exploitative. Instead, she showed how a guest can exploit a host's kindness. She wanted to expose the system. Instead, she exposed her own bitterness. She wanted to be seen as brave for speaking truth to power. Instead, she came across as someone punching down at someone who had done nothing to deserve it. The entire exchange lasted less than 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. Every second was filled with tension, with barbs, with barely concealed hostility. And through it all, Jimmy tried. He really tried. He tried to understand where she was coming from. He tried to validate her feelings. He tried to find a way to make it work. But you can't have a conversation with someone who doesn't want to converse. You can't find common ground with someone who refuses to meet you halfway. So it ended the only way it could, with her walking off and him left to pick up the pieces. But Jimmy didn't crumble. He didn't fall apart. He acknowledged what happened, stood by his principles, and kept the show going. Because that's what professionals do. They don't let one bad moment define everything else. The night Meghan Markle got kicked off Jimmy Kimmel's show. Except she wasn't really kicked off. She left. She chose to walk away. She chose confrontation over conversation. She chose to make an enemy out of someone who only wanted to be friendly. And in doing so, she gave everyone watching a masterclass in what not to do as a talk show guest. How not to treat people. How not to handle disagreement. Jimmy, meanwhile, gave a masterclass in grace, in patience, in standing firm without being cruel, in defending yourself without attacking back. 38 seconds. That's all it took for one comment to light the fuse. And then, it was just a matter of time before everything exploded. What started as a simple question about life transitions became a referendum on celebrity culture, media complicity, and personal grievances. What should have been a pleasant conversation became a hostile interrogation. What could have been a positive appearance became a cautionary tale. And through it all, one person tried to be the good guy, tried to keep things civil, tried to show respect even when he wasn't receiving it. That person was Jimmy Kimmel, and the other person, the one who came in, with an axe to grind and a point to prove, who turned a friendly invitation into an ambush, who mistook a platform for a weapon, was Meghan Markle. In the end, the audience decided who was right and who was wrong. They decided who handled the situation with class and who handled it with contempt. They applauded Jimmy, and Meghan walked off into the night, alone, having burned a bridge she didn't need to burn, having made an enemy she didn't need to make, having proven a point that nobody needed proven. 38 seconds to disaster, 10 minutes of conflict, and one moment that would define how both of them would be remembered from that night. The host who kept his cool, and the guest who lost hers.